WXXV News 25 forecast first.
Good evening, South Mississippi. We come to you this evening having seen several different weather changes throughout the day. The major change, of course, relating to our tropical developments and the tropical system, which was Hurricane Francine moving onshore. We'll tell you why it's still above the hurricane threshold. Also, taking a look at rainfall totals across our area already before the heaviest of moisture has arrived. We'll tell you how much you could see. That's your forecast first. WXXV News 25 at 9 starts right now.
Hurricane Francine moving inland now, bringing impacts to South Louisiana and here in South Mississippi. WXXV News 25's full coverage continues right now.
Your news live right now. WXXV News 25.
Good evening, South Mississippi, and thank you for joining us for WXXV News 25 at 9 on this Wednesday night. Of course, Francine dominating our coverage once again, Trey. Like I said, she's moving inland and, of course, bringing impacts really to South Louisiana heavily, but we are seeing some of those outer bands of Francine. Rain coming down on our Lyman studios pretty heavily as of right now. But, Trey, for South Mississippians at this point, 9 o'clock tonight, what do people need to know?
So what they need to know, Grant, is we haven't yet seen the heaviest, or if you want to label it, the meanest it would fit as well in terms of the rainfall here just yet. But what we are seeing is down south of the actual coast out over the northern Gulf of Mexico, we are watching a few different areas of thunderstorm. And as we see these thunderstorm areas, individual different pieces of the atmosphere, if you will, lots of lightning with these. And remember, we talked about this last week, proceeding up to this week when we were referring to the tropical systems. Not a lot of lightning with a healthy tropical system, but with these systems, we are seeing that lightning, and that all leads us to believe that the opportunity for some spin-up tornadoes is still there, and dry air mixing into several parts of the storm, adding that opportunity in tonight. This is, of course, your analysis mode, and we'll dive in depth to it in just a bit and move all around the area and the region and tell you about that catastrophic flood emergency in place for New Orleans.
Thank you, Trey. And, of course, we'll be checking in with you throughout this newscast tonight. We are going to start with our continuing team coverage of Francine. Our reporters have been out in the field all day covering the storm from many different angles. We'll go to WXXV News 25's Marco Bittnell now. He's live in Lower Hancock County tonight. Marco, what are conditions like where you're at right now?
Yeah, thanks. I'm here at the Mississippi state line at the Mississippi Visitor Center, where I was planning on doing some more coverage for Hurricane Francine, but I ended up getting caught in that southern Hancock County tornado warning earlier. I was sitting in my car, got that alert on my phone, and right when that happened, I got plenty of calls back at the station, even my news director calling me saying, hey, you need to take this seriously. Get inside, find some cover, get a roof over your head. This is no joke. I went ahead, went to the rest stop. The only thing that was open was the bathrooms. I ran in there. There was a whole bunch of other people sheltered in there. We ended up having a power outage in there. So the tornado warnings, that was a very real effect, a very sobering moment right there. But we ended up being safe. I'm very glad that we are okay in that moment. But I cannot stress this enough that in these moments when these tornado warnings are issued, find cover. Nothing is worth losing your life over. Go ahead and get a roof over your cover. When storms like these pop up, tornadoes can happen very fast. So be on the safe side. Get a roof over your head. We'll make sure to keep you updated with any other updates. For now, reporting where you live. Marco Bittnell, WXXV News 25.
Sure glad you are safe, Marco. Of course, that tornado warning he's talking about has expired now, but of course we will break in and tell you about any future warnings if they are issued tonight. Always a possibility when it comes to hurricanes. Hurricane Francine impacting many travel plans, of course, in South Mississippi tonight, starting with the Gulfport Biloxi International Airport. WXXV News 25's Elizabeth Keene took a trip over there just a few hours ago. She's got this update now.
Thanks so much. I'm here at Gulfport Biloxi International Airport, which is quite empty right now following Hurricane Francine's impact. And that's because all commercial flights have been grounded for the day and rental car services have ceased due to the severe weather. Flights that were supposed to arrive throughout the evening from Atlanta, Houston, Charlotte, and Dallas have been canceled with no status currently given. The airport's saying that it expects to resume these services tomorrow morning, but in the meantime, many are stuck overnight, waiting even longer to get where they need to be. Reporting from where you live in Gulfport, I'm Elizabeth Keene, WXXV News 25.
And we are going to talk about some flight schedule changes heading into tomorrow at the airport to tell you about. Delta Airlines Flight 3178 from Atlanta has been rescheduled to arrive at 8:59 tomorrow morning into Gulfport. There's also some flight cancellations that are on your screen in terms of departures. Keep that in mind, and of course, check with the airport Fly GPT or with your carrier to determine your flight status tomorrow. We are going to go to an update now on power outages across our area. Our power crews, of course, monitoring impacts from Francine. Here's a look at some outages from Coast Electric. That is the outage map. Of course, they cover Pearl River, Hancock, and Harrison counties. In Harrison County right now, about 962 customers are impacted, especially in the Mitchell Road area of Long Beach. That's where one of the clusters of power outages is located. Pearl River County's got about 602 Coast Electric customers without power right now. And in Hancock County, in the Shoreline Park area mostly, there are 684 customers without power. I also want to mention for Mississippi Power customers in Pearl River County, there are about 730 customers without power just south of Poplarville near the Savannah community there. And then over near Jackson County with Singing River Electric Cooperative's power outages. I'm pulling that up on my iPad right now. About 42 customers in Jackson County, 42 Singing River Electric customers are without power tonight. So that is just a snapshot of outages at this time. Of course, we'll come back to these outage maps to tell you more throughout the night. Well, all school districts across South Mississippi making the decision to close again tomorrow. I've got a full list of those closures right now on our website, WXXV25.com. You can get full details about all of those closures on our website right now. Well, curfews in 3 coast cities are going into effect tonight. Gulfport's curfew is actually now in effect. It runs through 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Bay St. Louis has a curfew that goes into effect in just about an hour at 10 o'clock. It ends at 5 a.m. Thursday morning. The same goes for the city of Waveland. That curfew starts at 10 and ends at 5 tomorrow morning. We spoke to Gulfport Mayor Billy Hughes earlier today about the city's decision to implement a curfew tonight and changes to the city's operational plan heading into tomorrow. Hughes tells us the decision comes out of an abundance of caution.
Anytime you have a storm threat, you want to proceed with an abundance of caution. The other thing, we've learned through the years is complacency kills, and it's a dangerous thing. So we want to take every storm seriously because everyone's different, and some of them spin up, to a greater degree than what you think they might be forecast to do. So we just want folks to tell them, folks, if you don't have to get out, don't get out. If you do, just be cautious and be smart about it.
All Gulfport City administrative functions are suspended until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Once again, that's when the curfew is set to be lifted in the city. Well, storm shelters across South Mississippi open tonight for people that need that extra protection from this storm. WXXV News 25's Austin Lindsay stopped by the shelter at D'Iberville High School earlier today to talk to those seeking shelter and shelter volunteers on how they prepared. Here's his report from earlier today.
We've had plenty of warning for this to come in, and even though we're short-staffed, the administration has been very good about reorganizing and utilizing the staff in the best manner they can.
With Hurricane Francine set to make landfall this evening along the Gulf Coast, many along the Mississippi coast are staying prepared to feel some of those shock waves of the storm from the possible flooding and tornadoes. Some have decided to seek shelter as one of many shelters along the Mississippi coast here at D'Iberville High School.
Well, I was living off the beach. I had some, I'm going to call them family, because they've been really good to me. They've helped me out a lot. They gave me a ride over here because they knew I needed it. I walk pretty much everywhere I go. It puts things into perspective for you that, that there are good God-fearing people out there that actually care about their community.
But right now, we just this morning opened one in Van Cleve. We're opening this one. We've got one open in County Farm. We have 7 scheduled to go online today. And as you can see, we already have clients here. We've got 35 clients over at County Farm.
At the moment, there's just 3 of us, but we're probably expecting more as the weather starts turning. I don't know the particulars on how people are going to get here. I know a few people that are homeless out there that said that they were going to wind up showing up here. I just don't know at what time.
And we'll keep this open as long as we need to. And it's not due to hit until a little bit later this afternoon. So I'm assuming that we're going to be picking up clients steadily the rest of the afternoon.
My best guess is that Jesus has his hand on it and he's going to take care of it. It says not to worry. He's got everything under control, so keep God first.
Visit our website at WXXV25.com for a full list of hurricane shelters near you. Reporting where you live here in D'Iberville, Austin Lindsay, WXXV News 25.
D'Iberville High School, one of the many shelters open up across our South Mississippi counties tonight for those of you that needed a little extra protection. And Trey, the conditions that we're experiencing here in South Mississippi right now from Francine, is this kind of the high point? Is it going to get a little more intense? What are we looking at?
So, Grant, I would say this is the beginning of our transition into more heavy rainfall, and I'd say the heavier rainfall is to come here in South Mississippi. There's a quick look at the tropical system we referenced earlier, and you've seen progress over the past several days as well. This, of course, still holding on to hurricane strength, and as that's the case, Francine will hold on to that hurricane strength for a little bit longer as the abundance of moisture and that low wind shear in some areas is there. However, wind shear, dry air intrusion, and land affecting the system as a whole, all going to help weaken that storm as well. Still do have several tropical alerts in effect. If you take a look out over towards the Mississippi Gulf Coast, you still have those several alerts. And I'll tell you why that tornado watch in yellow is in place across the Mississippi Gulf Coast. 4 out of 6 counties are seeing that also. We are seeing that a catastrophic flooding alert is in place for areas of southern Louisiana, specifically the New Orleans metro. We'll tell you why and take a look at what they could see coming up.
Thank you, Trey. Well, once again, we've got a steady stream of information coming into our newsroom as this storm makes its presence felt in our region. You, of course, can visit WXXV25.com or our WXXV News 25 Weather Authority app as well for up-to-date, detailed information.
The WXXV question of the day brought to you by Southern Properties United.
All right, the storm is here, and we want to know tonight, are you prepared for Hurricane Francine? Did you get those preps done? So far, so many of you are saying yes, 81%. In fact, that's what we like to see. You can still vote on this question, though, tonight by going to our website, WXXV25.com. Click on the WXXV vote link in the news drop-down menu, or use the QR code that's up on your screen. All right, after the break, we'll have more closures to tell you about, along with updates, including CTA's routes tomorrow. You're watching WXXV's full coverage of Hurricane Francine in our 9 o'clock newscast tonight.
You're watching WXXV News 25 with Grant, Jevin, and weather with Trey. WXXV News 25. Storm Ready, powered by Mississippi Power.
Trey, we're seeing some rain and wind, of course, right now. That's to be expected, and that's what we expected. Our neighbors, though, just to the west over in the New Orleans metro area, really feeling the brunt of Francine right now, too.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. They cranked up the wordage on those flood advisories and then the flood warnings, and they didn't hold back. They said, this is not an exaggeration. We're seeing one of the biggest flood events we've seen in New Orleans and sometimes maybe in some years as well. And they don't take that lightly because, number one, they're part of that community. They live in that area and they work at the Weather Service office out of New Orleans. And number two, they know the sensitivity in that area to flooding and tropical systems. And so they put it out for good reason. And that reason is, graphic Sam showed me just a few moments ago, they received over 9 inches of rainfall in 24 hours and are not done with their rainfall this evening. In fact, I look out towards the west, a large area of heavy moisture, heavy rainfall, and a few thunderstorms still yet to roll through that area. And so, if you know anybody there, give them a shout. And if you can, maybe start working on figuring out what's going on over there and if they need some assistance. Because if anything, just send them some water, send them a note, let them know you're caring about them, because this is just not a pleasant experience for anybody. Nobody likes excessive rainfall. Nobody likes flooding, but it happens with these particular systems. And thankfully, the hurricane was on the lower end of the spectrum comparative to some of the other thunderstorms and hurricanes we've seen this time of year that have caused damage. All that being said, this is the current setup across the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Our showers and thunderstorms not done either. And then down to the south of the coast, these areas here are going to see the possibility for quick spin-up tornadoes as we move over the next few hours. The reason for that, busting in a lot of that dry air intrusion, something we talked about yesterday. What that means is it's going to disrupt the pattern that's been flowing consistently and flowing in harmony over the past few days as this tropical system builds up. And as that happens, tornadoes can spin up from that particular disturbance. Now, just know that the tornado potential is fairly low compared to especially times we see here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast during the spring and other months. But it's there, so it's worth noting. And we've already cut into programming once tonight because we had a surprise warning as well. This is a current look at the radar. And if you take a look at different products here, what you'll notice is that they're all kind of worn out. All these products are kind of worn out, so to speak, because they've been working really hard today with the landfalling aspect of the hurricane as it moved across parts of the Gulf Coast in terms of Louisiana and Mississippi. And as our system gives us some trouble, luckily we've got the back door here, and we're going to go ahead and show you what's going on across the Gulf Coast. But we want to change the radar site for good reason here. And the reason we're changing the radar site is this time focusing on this side of the viewing area, the south and eastern side. And the reason for that, if you go to the Weather Service office out of Mobile and take a look at that radar, you get a better viewpoint of some of these showers, some of these thunderstorms as well. And continuing through the rest of the evening, we aren't the only ones seeing those showers and thunderstorms. As I mentioned, areas to the south and west, which did see the immediate impacts and immediate landfall of the hurricane earlier this evening. We'll see rainfall continue. So everybody's seeing rainfall. You know, flooding is already occurring in some areas, will continue to occur for others as well. These are the current tropical alerts in place. We're going to keep it short, keep it simple with our forecast elements tonight, because with the hurricane moving ashore, there's a lot of domino effects that start to occur in terms of your tornadic potential, your flooding risk, and flooding damage possibilities. Thankfully, no damage reported to us here as of yet, but that particular system still has a lot of time to go, Grant, and as that's the case, we still have a plethora of options that the atmosphere could take. That's why Sam and I are right here, and Sam and I will continue to be here until the threat has surpassed at least the threat for tornadoes, because that is damaging.
Thank you for your hard work, my friend Sam. To you as well. Of course, like you said, this job does not stop after the light goes off at 10:30 at night. Of course, we're going to be having you guys here for most of the night if conditions warrant.
Absolutely, and we're glad to do it.
For sure. We'll stick around South Mississippi. We'll have more after the break. We do want to remind you as we go to break, we will have more Francine coverage. It continues tonight in our 10 o'clock newscast over on WXXV NBC.
Welcome back, South Mississippi. We are going to dive in right now, more so to current conditions across the Mississippi Gulf Coast, because these have taken a back seat over the past day to day and a half. Two graphics revealing possible tracks and possible strengthening of the hurricane, which moved ashore earlier today. So let's go ahead and tell you what's going on out there. Of course, this directly impacted by the tropical system. And as we move over the next few hours into tomorrow, we'll see a few different changes take place. But these are important as well. We are seeing wind gusts screaming this evening coming out of the east-southeast at about 25 to 30 miles per hour in some areas. How about this? Poplarville racking in a 48-mile-per-hour wind gust at the moment. So everybody across the coast can and will see these wind gusts continue through the rest of the evening. Something else we'll take a note of and talk about in just a few minutes is where is that eye of the hurricane. If that hurricane is still officially a hurricane by standards and the actual threshold, where's that eye? We'll tell you where it is and who will see it next before it drops that hurricane moniker.
All right, let's get into some schedule adjustments for tomorrow across South Mississippi. The Naval Construction Battalion Center in Gulfport is scheduled to open following a 2-hour delay due to Francine. The 28th Street Gate is set to reopen at 7 a.m. The Child Development Center, Fitness Center, and Next Mini Mart are all set to open at 8 a.m., while the Visitor Control Center opens its doors at 9 a.m. Now, the Next Main Store and Credit Union open at 10 a.m. The Colmer Dining Facility will resume services with dinner at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. Keesler Air Force Base will be closed to non-essential personnel until noon tomorrow. The Division Street Gate, though, will open at 10 a.m. The Fitness, Youth, and Child Development Centers on base will remain closed. The Commissary opens at 11 a.m. Food vendors open at noon tomorrow on base. All school districts across South Mississippi making the decision to close again tomorrow. Once again, we've got a full list of those closures on our website, WXXV25.com, so you can check to see if your school district is closed tomorrow. Like I said, most of them, universities operating on a modified schedule in our area tomorrow, so do keep that in mind if you're a college student. Some South Mississippi Walmarts closed today due to Francine. According to Walmart's website, the Picayune, Bay St. Louis, Pass Christian Walmarts all closed in the afternoon hours, along with the neighborhood markets on Highway 49 and Pass Road in Gulfport, along with the main Walmart off 49 in Gulfport. Those stores are set to reopen tomorrow. Meanwhile, Coast Transit Authority providing an update on when its services will resume. CTA expects to resume fixed route bus service at 10 tomorrow morning. Their offices will reopen an hour earlier at 9. And just a reminder, you can hear the WXXV Hurricane Authority forecast on our iHeartRadio partners. Those are Magic 93.7, News Talk 104.9, WBUV, and K99 Country. Tune in for periodic updates as we continue to track these weather impacts.
your WXXV News 25 forecast first.
Landfalling hurricane showers, thunderstorms, and flooding all across the coastal region today of the United States, more specifically the Gulf Coast. And right here at home on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, we are seeing our own set of weather changes starting to take place this evening. We'll tell you which aspects of the forecast we see that the other sides of the region do not. That's your forecast first. WXXV News 25 at 9 continues.
Hurricane Francine is now moving inland, bringing impacts to our area and South Louisiana as well. In this next half hour of WXXV News 25, our coverage continues.
Your news live right now. WXXV News 25.
Welcome back to a new half hour of WXXV News 25 on this Wednesday night, South Mississippi. I'm Grant Chigazola, joined by meteorologist Trey Tonneson in the WXXV Weather Center. And Trey, Francine, like I said, moving inland now, made landfall earlier this evening. Where is the eye right now?
So the eye, Grant, is meandering in an area that takes it not out of the portion we would consider south and southeastern Louisiana. It's actually rotating and will actually go out to your radar in your futurecast really quickly and show you where it most likely will move after the next few hours have passed. Here's your futurecast, starting with the time period just to make things even when we started this broadcast. Here's a look at what is occurring there in Louisiana. This, of course, a prediction of where that eye is going to be headed. It may move a little quicker on this product, but the general consensus is there. What you're seeing on your screen, that eye does move and meander is probably a better word, towards the north. It always has that northerly component to it, at least on these most recent scans, because the entire storm is slowly lifting to the north, and as that happens, that's why you see that weakening trend. But as of now, that viewpoint and other viewpoints all continuing to show the heaviest of moisture and the meanest of moisture still haven't completely passed the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Grant, and so that eye wall still affecting many areas in our region, New Orleans being one of them.
Yeah, that's a clearly defined view that you have up there, right there, Trey. So thank you for that update. You know, we want to keep an eye out on the eye tonight, of course, because it does certainly bring impacts and has a tangible effect on where conditions on the outer bands will eventually end up. So thank you for that, Trey. All right, we're going to go back now to our team coverage of conditions here in South Mississippi. We'll start with WXXV News 25's Marco Bittnell. He's live in Lower Hancock County right now. And Marco, as we enter another half hour, what are conditions like where you're standing?
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm here, like I said earlier, I'm here at the Mississippi state line, or I was planning on doing some more coverage on Hurricane Francine when I got caught in that tornado warning for southern Hancock County earlier. I looked at my phone, saw that I got multiple calls from the station saying, hey, you need to find cover. So I ran inside to the visitor station here, got some roof over my head, huddled with some other visitors that had the smart idea of getting some shelter over our heads. So we huddled up in there, had a little bit of a power outage while we were in there as well, lights flickering, so a little bit of a scary realization, but I'm glad we were all okay. But it's in moments like those that I cannot stress enough to you guys. And when storms like these happen, tornadoes can spout up almost out of nowhere. So when you see those warnings, you need to make sure that you have a roof over your head, that you find somewhere safe, or there's just a place like this, like the bathroom, or somewhere, anywhere that you can find. You need to make sure that you get a roof over your head. Nothing is worth losing your life over. My job here reporting on Francine isn't worth losing my life over, and anything that you can be doing right now is not worth losing your life over. So be on the safe side. Get some cover over your head. I'll keep you updated with any other developments for tornado warnings as well as Hurricane Francine. For now, reporting where you live, Marco Bittnell, WXXV News 25.
Thank you, Marco. We appreciate the update. Well, of course, we are tracking power outages across South Mississippi tonight, monitoring our South Mississippi power providers. We're going to take a look at the current outage map. This is Coast Electric's outage map. Of course, it's 3-county coverage area, Hancock, Harrison, Pearl River counties. So far, 925 people in Harrison County, just around that number, are affected in terms of customers without power. 735 customers in Pearl River County without power at this moment. And in Hancock County, 683 customers are affected. I want to mention Mississippi Power's number, about 223 customers without power, most notably about 32 right now in Harrison County, and then about 79 in the Poplarville area of Pearl River County. And then over in Jackson County, when it comes to Singing River Electric Cooperative, they have, I'm getting that number up right now, 72 customers in Jackson County without power. That's Singing River Electric Cooperative. Once again, we'll continue to take a look at those numbers tonight. All school districts across South Mississippi are making the decision to close again tomorrow. Once again, we've got a full list of those closures and other closures, other schedule changes on our website right now, WXXV25.com. And a reminder as we move through this half hour, once again, 3 South Mississippi cities have curfews tonight. That's something very important for you to keep in mind. Gulfport already under a curfew that started at 6 o'clock and ends at 6 o'clock in the morning. Bay St. Louis's curfew goes into effect just under 30 minutes from now at 10 o'clock. It will end at 5 a.m. in the morning. The same goes for the city of Waveland. The curfew there starts at 10, ends at 5 a.m. And Trey, we're going to get you to come back over here. I'm going to hand you the floor again as we continue to track Francine. And what are you seeing right now? What's your analysis of Francine at this point?
So what I'm seeing from Francine, Grant, is the abundance of natural, I would say, you could call them nutrients for this tropical system. Now, they are there, not as plentiful as you would find them if you went back and found Francine when Francine was out in the open Gulf of Mexico, or even before that further towards the south. What I mean by this is we still have that moisture in the air, in the atmosphere, and it's still decently warm in some places as well. And for that reason, you actually still see multiple tropical alerts still persisting across our area. Something else I want to note here is the radar imagery across the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Now, this yellow shade is a tornado watch. I think Sam and Ryan have been looking at this all day and agree with me that it's in place for good reason. And it's funny, Grant asked about my particular analysis of the situation, because I still think that it's still a dangerous situation, Grant, not to mention the considerable flash flooding events going on just to our west, but also the tornadic potential. Though low, it's there.
Thank you, Trey. As we near our break right now, we want to remind you, in addition to our website, WXXV25.com, download our WXXV News 25 news app and our WXXV Weather Authority app. Of course, you can get push alerts from those apps, getting breaking weather information and breaking news as it happens. So just a reminder for those platforms tonight. Still to come in our newscast, especially if you are just tuning in tonight, we'll have more on those closures when it comes to school closures, business closures, things like that in our second half hour. You're watching WXXV's full coverage of Hurricane Francine.
You're watching WXXV News 25 with Grant, Jevin, and weather with Trey. WXXV News 25. Storm Ready, powered by Mississippi Power.
Well, Trey, this is our regular 9 o'clock newscast. You know, we're on the air at this time every single weeknight. It certainly doesn't feel like one, though, since we are dominated by Hurricane Francine in our coverage of the storm. And tonight, you know, we're certainly seeing a lot of rain here in South Mississippi, some wind gusts, as you've talked about throughout this hour. But, of course, as we move through the evening, there are a lot of watches issued for our area that could turn into warnings. So it's still very important to keep an eye out for those types of things.
Grant, you're absolutely correct, and that is something that honestly just nails what I was about to get to in a simple fashion. A lot of watches over the area right now, a lot of could happen, might happen, possibly will happen in the area. And with that being said, the reason I found that so insightful that he said that is because that is what you see a lot of times with tropical systems and specifically hurricanes, because of the dominating fashion of the hurricane's structure and the way they form and how long you have to see them most times before they approach a land way out in the Atlantic all the way through the Gulf and then, in this case, up towards the Mississippi Gulf Coast. This one formed a little bit quicker than most do. Even then, we had a ways out to take a look at it. The reason I'm bringing that particular point up is because all of the watches and warnings in place tonight are in place because these systems, like heat, moisture, atmospheric turbulence, are all here. So we do have the chance for tornadoes. We have a chance to see more catastrophic flooding west of our area. We have a chance to see our own flooding here, and accumulations of showers and thunderstorms are responsible for that. And tropical systems really do dominate the weather world and the news cycle when they approach a certain area, and specifically the Gulf Coast as a whole, whether it be all the way up through the Gulf Coast to Florida, here to Mississippi. We see them get a lot of attention, and for good reason. And it's a lot different than your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms as well. Flood alerts in place across the Mississippi Gulf Coast. These particular flashing boxes here are flash flood warnings, and flood warnings themselves, they are two different types of floods, but you see flash flood warnings in place, flood warnings in place, and then, unfortunately for areas to our south and west, an emergency flash flood warning in place for the metro area of New Orleans, and it does have the catastrophic tag on it, an emergency flood concern there. They've surpassed long ago the flash flooding potential and flash flooding warning, and they just went into a straight-up flood emergency for good reason as well. But I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit more as we go through the rest of the evening. But more specifically, here's a look at the tornado potential through the rest of this evening, and specifically this is possible throughout southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and then southern Alabama as well. We were talking to folks from several Weather Service offices in New Orleans, Mobile, and Jackson. Jackson not expecting that tornado potential this evening, but all the way from New Orleans to Mobile, they both agree wholeheartedly it's possible as well. We have a little bit of dry air interfering with that storm system, and as it does that, it becomes possible to see spin-up tornadoes as well. But something else to note that maybe takes a back seat to other concerns, Grant, and I see why, but it does come with its own set of risk. Wind gust right now, still over 40 miles per hour in several areas here in South Mississippi, all the way up to Poplarville, almost 50.
Yeah, those are some of the things that we were expecting. Gusting winds, of course, lots of rain, especially since we've seen rain this week. You know, this is just tacking on this rain from Francine to the amounts that we've already seen this week.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. It's a lot.
Yes. Well, Trey, you'll be back after the break with another weather hit. And, of course, we'll be back with more news in terms of Francine impacts. But we do want to remind you, before we go to break, we will have more coverage tonight as we move closer to the 10 o'clock hour. So flip the channel at 10 o'clock for our 10 o'clock newscast over on WXXV in BC.
We continue to take a look at the atmosphere around the area as we do each night, but as we go into the rest of this particular evening, we do see a few changes brought about from the hurricane that made landfall just south and west of our area here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We've taken a look more specifically at graphics related to tropical effects and tropical domino effects from that particular system. So let's go ahead and take a look at some current conditions, because you're probably wondering, well, if we head outside now, what are we going to feel? And I'd say, number one, before you even got there, don't do it just yet, because the heaviest of rainfall and the meanest of moisture not quite done with our area just yet, and I wouldn't want to be caught outside. You add in the wind gusts on your screen without even me reading them all off to you. Multiple areas over 30, some nearing 40 miles per hour plus in wind gusts right now. Rainfall totals, something else that have certainly grabbed attention spans. Look at the purple shade here, the purple between 6 and 9 inches. Hancock County with several areas in the white, which is above 9 over the past 4 days. Grant, flooding is possible, and I would bet it's already likely, and some roads are flooded and you can't see them.
And as we've talked about, lower Hancock County, always an area that sees a lot of that flooding during major rain, major weather events. Thank you, Trey. Of course, it is 9:45 right now, so we are going to take a check back in on power outages in South Mississippi right now. Once again, this is the Coast Electric outage map showing about 928 customers affected without power in Harrison County at this moment. Over in Pearl River County, 738 customers are without power as of this moment. And in Hancock County, it's actually cut down to 48 customers. 48 Coast Electric customers are without Hancock County power right now. That's a good thing to see. That number is very low for Hancock County at this moment in time. I am getting up on my screen right now Mississippi Power outages right now. So far across the service area for Mississippi Power, there are 271 customers out, still 32 in Harrison County without power, 47 customers in Jackson County without power right now. I'm going to go over to Pearl River County too right here. Poplarville, there are a certain amount of power outages in that area. The big one, though, 79 customers without power at that point. Now, we're going to take a look at Singing River Electric Cooperative power outages in the Jackson County area. Jackson, George, one of their main service areas. Jackson County, 67 Singing River Electric customers without power as we near our 10 o'clock hour, of course. So not a high amount over there in Jackson County. And, you know, Mississippi Power, Coast Electric, and Singing River crews are out working right now, responding to these outages. Crews are set to be out until the threat has passed and all power is restored. It's important to remember, though, to avoid down power lines as if they're active and give those linemen space to work if you see them out on the roadways. Of course, we thank all of their linemen for their hard work during severe weather events. Another thing to keep in mind, if your power does go out, though, if you don't have to be out on the road, avoid doing so. You really don't want to be out on the road tonight, of course. If you absolutely do have to go out and the power is still out, maybe after the storm has passed, approach a traffic light with no lights. It's important to treat them as a four-way stop. Flashing red lights should be treated as a stop sign. Flashing yellow means drivers should proceed with caution when traffic permits. It's always important to remember when there are widespread power outages. We haven't seen widespread power outages yet tonight, though. Getting to some schedule changes and closures now. The Naval Construction Battalion Center in Gulfport is scheduled to open following a 2-hour delay tomorrow due to Francine. The 28th Street Gate will reopen at 7 a.m. The Child Development Center, Fitness Center, and Next Mini Mart set to open at 8 a.m. The Visitor Control Center opens its doors an hour later at 9 a.m. The next main store and credit union open at 10 a.m. And then finally, the Colmer Dining Facility on base will resume services with dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon. Keesler Air Force Base will be closed to non-essential personnel until noon tomorrow. The Division Street Gate, though, opens at 10 a.m. The Fitness, Youth, and Child Development Centers on base will remain closed throughout the day tomorrow. The Commissary opens at 11 a.m. Food vendors open on base at noon. And like I've said, all our school districts across South Mississippi making the decision to close again tomorrow. We've got a full list of those closures on WXXV25.com right now for you to check out. Some South Mississippi Walmarts closed today due to Francine. According to Walmart's website, the Picayune, Bay St. Louis, Pass Christian Walmarts all closed this afternoon, along with the neighborhood markets on Highway 49 and Pass Road in Gulfport, plus the main Walmart off 49 just south of I-10 in Gulfport. Those stores are all set to reopen tomorrow, though. Coast Transit Authority will resume services tomorrow as well. CTA expects to resume those fixed route bus services at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Their offices reopen an hour earlier at 9 o'clock. CTA spending the day transporting some to shelters, especially if they needed transportation to our local storm shelters. And a reminder, tonight you can hear the WXXV Hurricane Authority forecast on our iHeartRadio partners, Magic 93.7, News Talk 104.9, WDUV, and K99 Country. Periodic updates on those channels as Hurricane Francine continues to make an impact here.
Welcome back to South Mississippi. I'm over at the Weather Center on our Barron Lynx 1 computer because we're looking at a new flood warning that has been not issued. It was already in place, but has been re-upped by the National Weather Service and actually upgraded to a considerable flash flood concern. This particular flash flood concern is for Hancock County, and that area has seen, according to this official warning, so this just into the news room and the Weather Center, that particular reading states that additional rainfall is possible, but they've already seen an average of 5 inches of rainfall accumulated there, and they could see 2 to 3 inches more in the next 2 to 3 hours. Flash flooding there is ongoing in several areas and expected to begin shortly with a few others. So that's very important to note. Grant, do not get out on the roads if you don't have to.
Vital information there. Thank you, Trey, for that update. In a bit of a break from Francine news tonight, Americans marking the anniversary of the September 11th attacks today, including South Mississippians. The attacks resulted, of course, in the deaths of nearly 3,000 people, including passengers, first responders, and civilians. WXXV News 25's Everett Gagne Jr. has reactions from our South Mississippi first responders.
6 bells. 6 moments of silence to mark the shockwaves that morning 23 years ago. Planes hitting in New York, at the Pentagon, in a field in Pennsylvania, the Twin Towers collapsing. 2,977 people were killed.
Alvin Peter Kappelman Jr.
Their names are read aloud here at Ground Zero every year. In attendance today, President Joe Biden, along with Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, just hours after they faced off in Philadelphia. In the middle of a contentious election battle, there may be a lesson from 9/11.
We hope people will set aside divisions and fractiousness and come together, recognize the unity, the compassion, and the courage that characterized the aftermath of 9/11.
Beth Hillman is the president of the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. Part of her mission, reaching a generation of young people who need to learn about 9/11. More than 100 million Americans who were born after 2001 or were too young to remember the tragic day.
The museum teaches about the day, but it also teaches about the aftermath. How has that changed?
Well, I think we continue to learn more. History isn't static. We look at how we've learned to better understand terrorism, even as we haven't been able to actually end it yet.
The museum gets millions of visitors every year.
It really makes you realize how terrible it was.
The Gordon Smith family lives in South Carolina.
Why was it important to come here today?
We have two kids who
And now, your Weather Authority. Brought to you by Office Furniture Solutions. We make you look good.
Lots of weather changes today, but what you need to know right now, showers and thunderstorms continue across the Mississippi Gulf Coast and in Louisiana. That power outage map on your screen, take a look at areas like New Orleans and southern Louisiana, purple shade, 80% plus showing out of power.
All right, the 9 o'clock news is over right now. The 10 o'clock news starts right about now. And everybody see us on the switch on NBC.
Your WXXV News 25 forecast first.
We've seen a plethora of weather conditions over the past week and up until today. We've seen several changes as well. We'll touch on the tropical system that was a hurricane throughout the day and just had dropped officially to a tropical storm status moments ago. Also, we'll take a look at showers, thunderstorms, and wind still in the area. Flood concerns as well. That's your forecast first. WXXV News 25 at 10 starts right now.
Hurricane Francine now lands, bringing widespread impact across our area. WXXV News 25's coverage continues right now.
Your news live right now. WXXV News 25.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Rick Boone. Thank you for watching us here on WXXV News 25 NBC as we continue our coverage of Hurricane Francine that is now in a tropical storm, if I understand, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so Trey, real quick, where's this thing right now? Where's it moving to?
So the whole system's moving towards the north, Rick, but it's not moving cohesively like you're used to seeing these systems as they move freely over the open ocean waters. What's happening is it's all being forced towards the north, and depending on which area it finds itself, whether you're looking at the part of the system over in Mississippi or southern Louisiana, it's all being driven towards the north. But right now, to answer your question, showers, thunderstorms, wind, and some flooding all are what's left of that tropical system, though the whole circulation of thunderstorms is what you'd see if you zoomed out the radar. You just need to know that it's going to be wet, it's going to be stormy for the rest of this evening.
All right, Trey, thanks so much. Appreciate that. Now to the Louisiana-Mississippi state line where heavy rain to flooding to a tornado warning. It all passed through the Hancock County area at the Mississippi Welcome Center. I was there live this afternoon, and that's where we joined WXXV News 25's Marco Bentonel. He's live there right now. And Marco, what a night you've had.
Thanks so much. I'm here at the Mississippi state line where I was doing some weather coverage on the weather conditions from Hurricane Francine. When I ended up getting caught in that tornado warning for southern Hancock County, I got multiple calls from the station saying, hey, you need to get inside right now. This is serious. So I ran inside to the visitor center, huddled together with a couple other people who had the smart idea of getting under cover, and we waited for that tornado warning to expire. Even had a little bit of a power outage there, which was a little bit of a scary moment, but we ended up being okay. But I cannot stress enough that in these moments that when you get those tornado warnings, you need to make sure that you have a shelter, have a roof over your head, because with conditions like these, those tornadoes can spout up out of nowhere and they can be very fast and very dangerous. So make sure that you have a roof over your head, stay inside, stay warm, check up on your loved ones. Nothing is worth losing your life over. So make sure you stay safe tonight, stay off the roads if you can. Very wet, still very dangerous conditions out there. So I cannot stress enough, stay inside, be safe tonight. We'll make sure to keep you updated with any other developments. For now, reporting where you live, Marco Bentonel, WXXV News 25.
All right, Marco, thanks so much, and stay safe on that drive back to the station tonight. We got a lot of outages, and you need to know about them because it's going to probably affect you tremendously. Some closings out there as well. Let's go to Grant. And Grant, you've been following this throughout the entire day and throughout the entire night. You got a whole list coming your way. Give us a little tease right now.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. We are tracking some closures, mostly in the form of our South Mississippi school districts. They've decided to cancel classes for Thursday as a precautionary measure due to this storm. Some of our colleges, though, will reopen in the area on a delayed schedule tomorrow. Elsewhere, when it comes to our military installations and our transit authority here in South Mississippi, Coast Transit Authority, they will start to ramp up activities in the late morning hours, the midday hour tomorrow around noon. So things will gradually get back to normal, basically, here in South Mississippi tomorrow, Rick, when it comes to a lot of our institutions, a lot of our installations, and just business as usual in South Mississippi. But for now, we got to get through the night and get through all of this rain and wind, Rick.
All right, you got a whole list coming our way. It ain't over yet. Thanks so much, Grant. Well, Hurricane Francine taking out power to many communities tonight. Here's a current look of the outage map brought to you by Mississippi Power. You see this on your screen. Harrison County, 971 people affected. Pearl River County, 738 affected, and Hancock County, 56 affected. Low numbers, and hopefully it stays a little lower as those numbers get restored. All school districts across South Mississippi making a decision to close again tomorrow. We have a full list of all those closures on our website at WXXV25.com. Curfews in 3 Gulf Coast cities in effect right now. Gulfport's curfew is in effect at this hour. It runs through 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Bay St. Louis curfew now in effect until 5 a.m. The same goes for the city of Waveland. Storm shelters across South Mississippi are open tonight for people in need of some extra protection from the storm. WXXV News 25's Austin Lindsay has this story tonight.
We've had plenty of warning for this to come in, and even though we're short-staffed, the administration has been very good about reorganizing and utilizing the staff in the best manner they can.
With Hurricane Francine set to make landfall this evening along the Gulf Coast, many along the Mississippi coast are staying prepared to feel some of those shock waves of the storm from the possible flooding and tornadoes. Some have decided to seek shelter as one of many shelters along the Mississippi coast here at D'Iberville High School.
Well, I was living off the beach. I had some, I'm going to call them family, because they've been really good to me. They've helped me out a lot. They gave me a ride over here because they know I needed it. I walk pretty much everywhere I go. It puts things into perspective for you that, you know, that there are good, God-fearing people out there that actually care about their community.
But right now, we just this morning opened one in Van Cleve. We're opening this one. We've got one open in County Farm. We have 7 scheduled to go online today. And as you can see, we already have clients here. We've got 35 clients over at County Farm.
At the moment, there's just 3 of us, but we're probably expecting more as the weather starts turning. I don't know the particulars on how people are going to get here. I know a few people that are homeless out there that said that they were going to wind up showing up here. I just don't know at what time.
And we'll keep this open as long as we need to. And it's not due to hit until a little bit later this afternoon. So I'm assuming that we're going to be picking up clients steadily the rest of the afternoon.
My best guess is that Jesus has his hand on it and he's going to take care of it. It says, you know, not to worry. He's got everything under control, so keep God first.
Visit our website at WXXV25.com for a full list of hurricane shelters near you. Reporting where you live here in D'Iberville, Austin Lindsay, WXXV News 25.
All right, Austin, thanks so much. Appreciate that. You know, Hurricane Francine is impacting a lot of travel plans out there. We're talking about people going to GPT, the international airport. WXXV News 25's Elizabeth Keene. She's at that airport for the very latest on this update.
Thanks so much. I'm here at Gulfport Biloxi International Airport, which is quite empty right now following Hurricane Francine's impact. And that's because all commercial flights have been grounded for the day and rental car services have ceased due to the severe weather. Flights that were supposed to arrive throughout the evening from Atlanta, Houston, Charlotte, and Dallas have been canceled with no status currently given. The airport's saying that it expects to resume these services tomorrow morning, but in the meantime, many are stuck overnight, waiting even longer to get where they need to be. Reporting from where you live in Gulfport, I'm Elizabeth Keene, WXXV News 25.
All right, Elizabeth, thanks so much. Well, there are some flight changes you need to know about heading into the airport tomorrow. Delta Airlines flight number 3178 from Atlanta has been rescheduled to arrive at 8:59 tomorrow morning. Also, on your screen are some recent flight cancellations. You can head to our website, WXXV25.com, for a full list of those departures and those cancellations. All right, more on Francine right now. Trey, one question, rain totals. What are they like?
They are extreme in areas like Hancock County. Rick, that area, not a surprise to see an abundance of moisture because it floods easily there.
Give me the numbers.
And we are going to see that right now, starting with Bay St. Louis very quickly, because Bay St. Louis, Sam and I were actually just discussing this, 4 feet above what is the mean average level there for those tides. And as we go into tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, we'll be monitoring for that storm surge. But as Rick asked about, these are the rainfall totals over the past 4 days. Coordinate the colors on your screen with the key in the top right corner. The purple shades for a decent amount of the viewing area. That is 6 to 9 inches of rainfall accumulation in just the past 4 days alone. And then as it starts to turn more of a white shade down south of Bay St. Louis, going towards areas like Slidell, then you find yourself upwards of 9 inches, gearing towards 10, 12, 14 inches of rainfall. That sounds ridiculous, Rick, but that's what those areas have seen.
All right, Trey, thanks so much. Appreciate that. Hey, don't miss out, folks, on information. Go to our website, WXXV25.com. Anytime you want, you can do it right now. Also, your way to learn what's happening, go to WXXV News 25 and the WXXV Weather Authority apps. We'll post up-to-the-minute closures, stories, and impacts, all from Francine on all of our platforms.
The WXXV question of the day brought to you by Southern Properties United.
All right, check out this question. Are you prepared for Hurricane Francine? Have you been? Yes or no? You can vote right now on our website at WXXV25.com or by going onto our website and do that drop-down menu or that QR code right there on your screen. And we have more closures coming up in just a moment with updates from TTA. You are watching full coverage of WXXV News 25, our special look at Hurricane Francine.
Your news live right now. WXXV News 25. Storm Ready, powered by Mississippi Power.
That hurricane now a tropical storm, right?
Correct.
And also the other question, tornadoes. Any opportunities of those popping up again throughout the overnight?
Yes, that is still a possibility. Now, not as great in the western side of the viewing area, Rick, but over towards the eastern side of the viewing area, you're going to see that on your screen right now. I just quickly wanted to touch on that because this is analysis mode here. It gives you a crisp view of the radar. This is what we'd use if we were going to dive really in depth to the thunderstorms in terms of a super local level. But here's what we're overlaying on top of this Doppler radar. Ryan and Sam have been taking a look at this yellow shade throughout the day, and that's been the National Weather Service offices. Remember, 3 coordinate watches and warnings for our area here in southern Mississippi, our southern 6 counties. You have the Weather Service office out of New Orleans, Weather Service Jackson, and Mobile. And they all 3 have to coordinate to issue those warnings, and they sometimes do differ. But tonight, the reason that it's all yellow is because they are all in agreement. And as Rick asked, is there a potential to see a pop-up, spin-up tornado here? And the answer is yes to that question. Part of the reason for that, we still see, though it's not as warm as it was, we still see decently warm temperatures across the area. And as the entire climate starts to change and the atmosphere copes with the hurricane, now tropical storm that moved through, seeing a large pattern of moisture here. Notice this also answers the question that Grant and I have spoke about this evening, and Rick even asked me the question, what's the storm looking like and where's it moving? And this is that wide viewpoint. I added this in there to illustrate it. Yes, it's still somewhat of a unit as a tropical storm, which is currently the intensity of it, but notice how it starts to spread out and break apart. That's why when they have these tropical storms. The National Hurricane Center outlines that most likely won't become a hurricane, but do have somewhat of a strength when they move ashore, but they're sloppy and slow. That's why those are the greatest concern for flooding risk, because they start breaking apart really quickly. Not quite the case to that extreme tonight, but that's what the storm looks like at the moment. Tornadoes possible throughout the rest of today and into tomorrow morning. And that's due to what you see on your screen there, the hurricane that moved through earlier, and now we're seeing the remnants in the form of a tropical storm, still holding on to that strength for now in terms of showers, thunderstorms, and rainfall accumulation as well. Winds really whipping across the area, some areas over 40 miles per hour, at Saucier at 46. So winds really not going to die down at this particular moment, but we will see the entire system move towards the north, Rick, and that means that it will clear out, believe it or not, in the next few days.
All right, Trey, thanks so much. Well, some closures will last another day here in South Mississippi as a result of Francine. WXXV News 25's Grant Chicazola joins us back at the anchor desk with a look at this long list. And man, who's going to go to work tomorrow and school tomorrow? That's what I'm kind of wondering.
People are, getting those hurricane parties started,
Yeah.
Rick. They call them hurricane parties down here. Of course, many of you, our viewers, know that. Some institutions will kind of ramp up late in the morning tomorrow, around noon as well. There are going to be some closures, though, tomorrow. Some institutions, a lot of schools taking that as a precautionary measure. Rick, let's get into some of those closures right now. I'll start with the Naval Construction Battalion Center in Gulfport, the CB base. It is scheduled to reopen following a 2-hour delay tomorrow due to Francine. The 28th Street gate is set to reopen at 7 a.m. The Child Development Center, Fitness Center, and Next Mini Mart are scheduled to open an hour later at 8. The Visitor Control Center opens its doors at 9 a.m. The next main store and credit union on base open at 10 a.m. The Colmer Dining Facility will resume services for dinner at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. We'll move over to Biloxi and Keesler Air Force Base. The base will be closed to non-essential personnel until noon tomorrow. That's when normal operations will resume. The Division Street gate, however, opens at 10 a.m. The Fitness, Youth, and Child Development Centers on base remain closed tomorrow for the entire day. The commissary, though, opens at 11 a.m. Food vendors open at noon base-wide tomorrow. Like I said just a minute ago, all school districts across South Mississippi making the decision to close their doors tomorrow, out of abundance of caution, of course. In terms of our universities and colleges based in South Mississippi, though, some are resuming operations tomorrow. MGCCC operations resume at 10 in the morning. Pearl River Community College and the Southern Miss Golf Park campus open back up again at noon, though the exception, William Carey's Tradition Campus, the campus located north of Biloxi, will be closed. Keep that in mind if you're a student there. And get this, some South Mississippi Walmarts closed today due to Francine. According to Walmart's website, the Picayune, Bay St. Louis, Pass Christian Walmarts all closed, along with the neighborhood markets on Highway 49 and Pass Road in Gulfport, plus the main Walmart off of Highway 49 in Gulfport, just south of I-10. Those stores are set to reopen tomorrow, though, so keep that in mind if you need to go get some more supplies. Coast Transit Authority will resume service tomorrow. CTA expects to resume fixed route bus service at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. The offices, though, for CTA reopen an hour earlier at 9. Rick, definitely a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to all of our storm preparations, our storm closures, but with the storm moving past us tonight, things tomorrow going to gradually go back to normal. In some cases, it'll wait until Friday, though, for things.
Well, the good thing about it, the TV station never closed. We've been here the entire time, overnight, throughout the early morning hours, during the day, late night hours, just on and on and on. And, of course, we can't stop pushing enough. Go to our website, folks, and get the latest details as it comes in, because just in case we may not be on the air, we may be able to get it online for you as quickly as we can. That's at WXXV25.com. Well, be sure to watch your primetime late news, covering stories from where you live. WXXV News 25 on Fox, South Mississippi's only 9 p.m. newscast. And make that switch to WXXV News25.com or News 25 on NBC.
Whether you're buying, selling, or pawning, Haney's always gives you more for less. Find great deals on all jewelry, as well as electronics, and we offer personalized pawns.
We give you more for less at Haney's Pawn Shop.
Whether you're buying, selling, or pawning, Haney's always gives you more for less. Find great deals on all jewelry, as well as electronics, and we offer personalized pawns.
We give you more for less at Haney's Pawn Shop.
Whether you're buying, selling, or pawning, Haney's always gives you more for less. Find great deals on all jewelry, as well as electronics, and we offer personalized pawns.
We give you more for less at Haney's Pawn Shop.
Welcome back, South Mississippi. Let's go ahead and bounce on through the components of the forecast this evening. We'll review what we've seen so far and toss in a few new ones, give you an overall idea of what's going on around the area, and we'll quickly touch on each of these. Believe it or not, I will try to make it concise for you here. What you're seeing down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, that purple shade, it starts getting over 6 to 9 inches of rainfall accumulation. Start adding in the clearer and white shade there. That tops 9 inches, and you could go even further into the teens. You get the picture. Flooding, a great deal of concern, especially in southern Louisiana and down into the southwestern sides of the WXXV viewing area. Here is the infrared satellite, the tropical satellite. Mississippi Power has had it all the way from the Bay of Campeche, far southern areas of the Gulf of Mexico, all the way up through landfall earlier today. Flooding, as I mentioned, is a great concern across the area. Flooding actually ongoing right now as showers and thunderstorms are continuing. These blinking green boxes, flash flood warnings and flood warnings, both ongoing and both being reissued constantly by the National Weather Service offices, the three that cover us as well. We do have a few tropical alerts still in place, and as you take a look on your screen, those most likely going to be shifted in some way for areas just south of our shores into the northern Gulf of Mexico, and then areas just south of the shores of Louisiana, meaning as the tropical system moves further north, the need for a lot of those more serious tropical concerns does go away. And to answer the big question, is it going to storm tonight and tomorrow? The answer is yes. And the overlaid yellow shade on your screen, a tornado watch has been reissued for all of our 6 counties by all 3 Weather Service offices.
Well, we spoke to Gulfport Mayor Billy Hughes about the decision of implement weather curfew tonight and changes to the city's operation. Hughes saying his decisions came out of an abundance of caution.
You know, anytime you have a storm threat, you want to proceed with an abundance of caution. The other thing, we've learned through the years is complacency kills, and it's a dangerous thing. So we want to take every storm seriously because everyone's different. And some of them spin up, to a greater degree than what you think they might be forecast to do. So we just want folks to tell them, folks, if you don't have to get out, don't get out. If you do, just be cautious and be smart about it.
And that curfew will be lifted at 6 in the morning. Hey, just a reminder, you can hear WXXV Hurricane Authority forecast on iHeartRadio partners, Magic 93.7, News Talk 104.9, WPUV, and K99 Country. Tune in for updates on this storm as it makes an impact.
your weather authority. Brought to you by Southern Charm Furniture, where quality and design matter.
Thank you for continuing to trust your weather authority with your forecast. And into this evening, we do have an active weather pattern following the passage of what was Hurricane Francine, now Tropical Storm Francine. It's showing up on your radar where you live in the form of showers, thunderstorms, wind, and a little bit of flash flooding as well. For some, a decent concerning bit of flash flooding. For others, this is what we're seeing right now. Down to the south of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, this yellow shade. Tornado watches now in place for a large portion, if not all, of the viewing area, at least into the morning hours. As of now, it appears that just 5 to 10 minutes ago, they were reissued until around 5 to 6 a.m. And we are going to really dive in depth into these systems. And the second that it looks like that threat has completely waned and it's out the door, we're not going to wait. We're going to tell you when that is. So Sam and I will get to work on that in just a moment. But the reason that it's in place is because of these particular setups right here south of the shore. Those particular bands of showers and thunderstorms able to be out a little bit more so on their own, away from the main majority of tropical bands and tropical moisture. And with that, they're drawing in some drier air that's present in the Gulf of Mexico, at least the northern half. And as they do that, the storm tries to, you can imagine it as spitting it out, and as it does so, it breaks up the storms, and these cells quick spin up. Thunderstorms and tornadoes are possible with these, as the storms really just meander and some of them die out. The rest move north.
Well, today marks the 23rd anniversary of the September 11th attacks. Here's a live look at New York City, the skyline showing the blue lights in honor of the World Trade Center, where they stood. And many states and communities across the country remembering those heroes of that day. North Texas paused to honor the victims and families impacted by 9/11 on this Patriots' Day. They rang the bell symbolizing the final alarm call for the first responders who rushed to the Twin Towers in New York City. And the event took place at the 9/11 Flight Crew Memorial. That's near the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport in Texas. The memorial is dedicated to the 33 flight crew members who died on that day. Our memory to all of those who lost their lives and their family members on this 9/11. Before we go back to our Francine coverage, be sure to remember to hit us up online on WXXV25.com. But this is also a live look in New Orleans right now, where that storm is hitting a little bit earlier. It's moving on a little bit north now. You can see not too much damage, or not really any damage from that picture. We'll get some damage assessments certainly over the next few hours. We're back with you in just a moment here on WXXV News 25.
Good evening once again, South Mississippi. Rainfall continues to pound hard on the roof of the WXXV News 25 studios here in Lyman. And as it does so, we've also received several questions once again over the past few minutes. We saw the Futurecast you showed just a little bit ago. Could you show it again one more time and show a little bit of a different viewpoint? So this time we're zooming in out a little bit wider to show you what the overall general pattern should look like over the next few days. Specifically into your Thursday morning, this is what most likely will occur. Now, as for the speed of this all clearing towards the north, that is a little bit more variable, a little bit faster or slower is possible. However, the general pattern is there, and that means that this whole system is going to try lifting towards the north. That's going to be fueled in that way by a few changes we're seeing coming down the pipe into the second half of this week. And this is a Barron Links graphic that combines many different reporting stations for storm reports, power outage concerns, and power outage reports, as well as flooding concerns across the region and a few states as well combined to give us this outlook right here. This just shows you the magnitude of the hurricane that moved on through southern Louisiana. Rick's talked about power outages. Grant has as well. Those folks in New Orleans, this is showing in the purple shade there, and thankfully, Rick, it stops at 80%, because regardless of if it's actually 80% people without a power there or not, if it's anywhere, even half of that, that place needs some help, and they've taken a direct hit from that storm system as well.
All right, folks, stay safe out there. This has been a heck of a storm for everybody to deal with. Hopefully your property's good. Hopefully everybody's good that you know about and everything like that. We'll continue to cover this. And our post-perception perspective of this storm, be sure to stay with us here on WXXV News 25. And, of course, go online anytime for the very latest information. Thank you for watching us here on NBC. Good night.